fans. For the first time in over 25 years, it's time to introduce your Knoxville Smokies.
Go Smokies!
Smokies fans, welcome back to the Smokies Baseball Network. We thank you for tuning in on 92.5 or 1180 WKCE, or if you're tuning in live on YouTube, we thank you for catching us visually. I'm here alongside Jimbo, James Cole Schmelzer, and myself, Connor Nelson, here bringing you the preview before game number 2. We've got our Knoxville Smokies going up against the Rocket City Trash Pandas. So some Southern League North action going down in Madison, Alabama tonight. Jimbo, we saw game 1 go down last night, and the Smokies are still fighting for that last spot in the playoffs in the Southern League North. And last night they didn't help themselves out. How'd the game go?
Yeah, so just taking a look at the first game, it really just was a disappointment for the Smokies. They got blanked on the road last night. They fell 5-0 against the Trash Pandas. Grant Kipp worked out a couple jams early in the first 2 innings. He just couldn't escape in the fourth. Calabrese and Miles Emerson delivered RBI singles to open it up. The Trash Pandas, they tacked on extra run support off 2 balks in the 5th. And then later on, Calabrese, he struck again in the 7th, another clutch RBI knock. Knoxville's bats, they just weren't hitting all night at all. It was 3 hits total all night for the Smokies. They just couldn't manage the dominant pitching performance behind Klassen, who went across 5 innings of work, and then Kenyon Yovan, Luke Murphy, and Sammy Natera, the bullpen trio, who closed it out with 4 scoreless frames to seal the win for the Trash Pandas.
Yeah, Sammy Natera Jr. was really good, and those 2 balks you mentioned were just insane. I mean, that was Chase Watkins on the mound, coming in with the bases loaded, inherited by Grant Kipp. I mean, Kipp was looking stellar through his first 3 innings, and then, just had a little bit of trouble through the middle half of his outing. And then Chase Watkins, if you look at his line on paper, it's phenomenal. 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 4 Ks. Looks great. But 2 of the first guys that scored when he was in came via the balk, and he was just so confused. And Jimbo, I'm a guy who's been there myself, D3 college pitcher. I actually did it against Riku Nishida's college team back when he was playing JUCO ball. I balked twice, didn't allow a run, thankfully, because that would have really been the icing on the cake. But sometimes when you're just in that zone on the mound, you don't know what's going on. And sometimes you're just trying to get into attack mode, and little things like that tend to slip by your mental game. So unfortunate for Watkins, but he was able to recover. Unfortunately, the Smokies weren't. So they're going to look to recover in game 2, but they've got a long way to recover in the standings. So, Jimbo, what is the Southern League North looking like right now for Knoxville?
Yeah, so taking a look at the Southern League North standings, Birmingham, yet another stellar performance last night, winning 13-2 against the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. They're just jumping away. They gain another game off the Smokies, who get pushed back to 8.5 back. Chattanooga is now tied, also at 8.5 back. However, Chattanooga won the first half of the season, so for them, it really doesn't matter. Rocket City, they're sitting dead last, and they're just playing spoiler at this point, taking on the Smokies. Again, the Smokies, not a lot of room to work with here as the season's dwindling down. So there's no room for error, and last night just didn't show it for the Smokies. They're going to look to hopefully rebound tonight, but they have a long way ahead of them here in the last month.
Yeah, and if you're taking a look at the Southern League South, it's still Pensacola up at the top. Montgomery and Columbus still within arm's reach, though. A good series for them and a bad series for Pensacola could really shake up the Southern League South. So we'll be keeping our eyes there, because Biloxi really mailing it in here in the second half after they locked up their playoff spot in the first half. So for tonight's pitching matchup, it's going to be Antonio Santos on the mound going up against Mitch Ferris, the lefty for the Trash Pandas. So let's start with our guy, our arm, Antonio Santos. How is he going to set the tone today, and what's the report on him, Jimbo?
Yeah, so Santos, again, just 28 years old, out of the Dominican Republic, spent some time originally up in the majors at some point of his career with the Colorado Rockies. He was originally here this season as a bullpen piece. Lance Reimel, about midway through the season, threw him into a starting role. He has been dominant, I would say, pretty much since 3-4, 2.02 ERA going here tonight. His last start against Rocket City was actually in Rocket City, and he went for 5 innings, gave up 1 earned run, and then they actually came back home. That was his last start on the road. At home, though, he was 5 innings across, again, only 1 earned run. So in the month of July, he was just stellar. In 6 games that he appeared in, he only gave up 5 earned runs for a 1.88 ERA. Looking again dominant this month, 2-2 again with an ERA, and only giving up 3 runs here in 2 starts in the month of August.
Yeah, the big thing for me is that there's only been 2 starts this season out of his 14 where he's allowed 3 runs or more. And that's what the Smokies offense needs right now. They struggled last week at home against a solid Biloxi pitching staff. And now this week against a Rocket City pitching staff that's riddled with top prospects, but still not a lot of guys who have had a lot of success this season. They need to go on offense, and Santos will hopefully keep the game close enough for long enough for the offense to get hot in case it takes a few innings. And then on the other side, his counterpart today, it's going to be the left-hander Mitch Ferris. He's only 1-8 with a 4.85 ERA this season. But for Ferris, I mean, this is a guy who people have said has top prospect stuff. He's only 24 years old. This is a guy who came over in a trade. He was not originally drafted by these Angels as the Trash Pandas, or the AA affiliate of the Los Angeles Angels. He was originally a 14th round pick by Atlanta back in 2023. And so far, I mean, you look at his MILB career, he's got a sub-4 ERA. This is a lefty who leans on the strikeout, but can tend to get a little wild sometimes. He's been back and forth out of the bullpen and starting roles. So hopefully the Smokies can get the showers started early and knock Ferris out of this one, because even with the win last night, the Trash Pandas did go with a couple of different bullpen arms. So if they can keep using those up here at the beginning of the series, should be good for their outlook on the rest of the series.
Yeah, and just to take a note here really quick, just with Mitch Ferris. Mitch Ferris has essentially just been an innings eater here for Rocket City this year. I mean, just looking at his numbers, pitching across 5 to 6 innings roughly on average. And again, giving up a lot of earned runs. So for the Smokies, again, they got shut out last night, and they're going up against a guy who pitched and he gives up multiple earned runs a game. So it's something that the Smokies need to do. They just need to get on top of them early, score first, and again, as well as Santos has pitched this season, it could help the Smokies very much here for a win tonight.
Yeah, just the 3rd time the Trash Pandas have shut out anyone all season long. And unfortunately, they play the best against us in the Knoxville squad. So hopefully the Smokies can play up to the level of competition instead of down to the level of competition that Rocket City's record is currently showing. But with a 19-20 record, the Smokies still got a 1-9 tonight. Cole, how are they aligning themselves?
Yeah, so we're going to start the lineup as this. Jalen Palmer is going to lead off to start. Batting second, it's going to be Brett Bateman. Batting third will be will be Pedro Ramirez. He'll be sitting up here. Batting fourth, it's going to be Corey Joyce. And then, again, Jefferson Rojas, he'll be batting fifth. Rayvosh Garcia batting sixth. We're going to have 7, 8, 9 looking like this. Pablo Aliendo will be batting seventh. Jordan Wogu batting eighth. And Carter Trice batting ninth, all behind Antonio Santos.
Yeah, big change. I mean, we've been seeing changes all throughout this lineup ever since BJ Murray has been shelved. I mean, still not a designated injured list player, hasn't been moved to the dev list. He's just rehabbing that wrist, hand. We're not sure what's wrong yet. It was a couple weeks ago in Chattanooga where he injured that wrist playing defense. So really hoping that the slugger can get back into the cleanup spot as soon as possible because they need it. But a good sign, Corey Joyce returning to the lineup for the first time since being hit in the head during last week's homestand. And he's right into the middle of the action in the 4 spot, and the Smokies need it. But then right behind him in the 5 spot, Jefferson Rojas, who we did a bit of digging before this pregame show. This is the very first time he's hit fifth in the lineup all season long, whether it was with South Bend or with us. He's only ever batted in holes 1 through 3. So, I mean, as the number 3 overall prospect for the Cubs, you can see how highly they think of him. But dropped down to the 5 spot because he's having some struggles. Jimbo, are you looking for him to change anything? I mean, the big story that we were noticing early on was that just seemed to be too aggressive too early and was late on fastballs. Is there anything that's jumping out to you, or just hopes and prayers that you're throwing out there for our number 3 overall prospect?
Yeah, with Rojas, he's batting 163 with the Smokies this year. He has 11 RBIs, so he's getting up there on that department. However, the home runs, I mean, we could see, I mean, we've seen him take batting practice all season long. He's got some raw power, and I'm just looking for him to maybe get a home run or something to put on this board here across the Smokies lineup. But he's, again, a doubtly prospect. He's a highly touted prospect. He's, I believe, 57 overall in the top 100 here for MLB. So Jefferson Rojas, still a lot of time for him to develop here in the system. We saw earlier this year Ed Howard, a lot of injuries with him, obviously a former first-round pick. So hopefully Rojas, he can't duplicate what Ed Howard did. Hopefully he can get it going. And for the Smokies, they could, again, very much need it here down the stretch.
Yeah, need some contributions from their biggest bats and also contributing to a great cause. Fans, can't forget to remind you that this season, Pioneer Comfort and your Knoxville Smokies teaming up to hit home runs for heroes. So what that means is for every home run hit by a Smokies player this season, Pioneer Comfort will be donating $100 to the Wounded Warrior Project. And to date, $5,300 have been raised between the Smokies and Pioneer Comfort. So hoping for some more big flies here today out of Madison, Alabama, for some more donations going to the Wounded Warriors. And then that'll bring us into our last segment here in our pilot pregame show. Jimbo, this is the spicy part, our players to watch, who we're keeping our eye on today to really make a big impact. And for you listeners, you may have your own players to watch. For us up in the broadcast booth, the broadcast team, we like messing around with each other, figuring out who can really predict the guy that's going to have the best day and who's going to have the biggest impact. We pick guys for different reasons. Sometimes it's just a guy we think is going to get out of a slump, a guy who's been hot lately. It could go all over the board. So, Jimbo, who is your guy?
So for me, I'm going to take Rayvash Garcia, the first baseman, hitting his last 10 games. He's batting .294. Hasn't gotten any home runs, but 3 RBIs. Again, he hasn't had any home runs at all this season, but he has been a hit machine. When he first came up here earlier this season with the Smokies, all he did was hit and get on base. He slowed down a little bit, but he's really picked it back up. This season against left-handers, he's batting .293 with 4 RBIs and 13 total bases. And against the Rocket City Trash Pandas, outstanding .429 average with 4 RBIs and 2 walks. He is a definite name here to watch in this series.
Yeah, I like it. And, you know, one of the reasons you pointed out there with Rayvash being so good against left-handers is the reason why I went with my guy, and it's down in the 9th spot. I'm talking about Carter Trice. He was on the top prospect list for about a week, Jimbo. It sucks. And then all the draft picks got added just a couple of days ago, and he got dropped off because he was number 30. But this guy is still a fun guy to watch. He has not picked up a hit yet in his Smokies tenure. We're still looking for that first knock, but against lefties with South Bend, he was phenomenal. Jimbo, I'm going to give you one guess. Can you guess how high his OPS was, or can you guess the number of his OPS against lefties this season with South Bend?
You're throwing me a curveball. It's got to be above 1,000, I would assume, on OPS.
Yep. Just give me a number. You might be on the right track.
We'll do 1050.
1025 is Carter Trice's OPS against left-handed pitching. He mashes them. He's batting .241 against lefties, .177 against righties. His home runs are split right down the middle, but when you're seeing lefties that well, it's going to jump out on paper, and it definitely is. He's got an on-base percentage over 400, so he's out of the 9th spot. I like that as a second leadoff man. If he can really play to the numbers today, should be a good day for the Smokies 1 through 9. Jimbo, any final comments before we wrap up our pilot pregame show?
Just with the season dwindling down here, again, 1 month left, the Smokies, they just have no room for error. That's all I really much can say about this team. It's been fun to watch this team. They've been sometimes very good on the stretch. Sometimes they've struggled. They've been roughly how I look at it, a 500 team most of the season. Hopefully they can somehow pull this out. It would almost be a miracle for them to pull this out 8.5 back against Birmingham, who, again, Birmingham in the first half of the season, they originally were going to win the first half, and then Chattanooga just came and just ripped it right out of their hands. And now Birmingham, they're almost playing with a vengeance. I mean, they just started the second half hot, and now they've never looked back. And I think for the Smokies, again, they played kind of how the first half went out. And in this case, as well as Birmingham has played, you just can't do that.
Now we've got a series against Birmingham left on the slate, as well as 2 against Montgomery, who is fighting for their playoff spot down in the Southern League South. So it should be a really fun rest of the season. Playoff stakes in pretty much every series, and the Smokies know it. Every other team knows it, and 8.5 games back is a tough hole to climb out of. So they're going to try to do it, and fans can't forget to remind you that our pregame show is brought to you by Pilot. Pilot is committed to connecting people and places with comfort, care, and a smile at every stop. So check out one of their conveniently located stations. Try their delicious burritos, jumbo wings, tenders, pizza, hot home-style meals, and more. Pilot, see you out here. And with that, for Jimbo, James Cole Schmelzer, and myself, Connor Nelson, signing out for the Smokies Baseball Network. That was our preview of game number 2 between the Rocket City Trash Pandas and your Knoxville Smokies. Currently, the series stands at 1-0 Rocket City. Smokies trying to gain some ground in the standings. It'll be a 7:35 first pitch tonight. Mick Gillespie, the voice of Smokies Baseball, will be on the call. So make sure to stay tuned right here, 92.5 1180 WKCE, to catch all of the action on the radio. So, Smokies fans, friends, we thank you for listening. Signing out for the Smokies Baseball Network.
Fans, for the first time in over 25 years, it's time to introduce your Knoxville Smokies.
Go Smokies! Woo!